So you have it. All right. So this lesson is on the law of sines. And the law of sines. Oh, it's going purple on me here. Maybe it'll clear up. All right, can I get your attention? The law of sines sees there's a proportional relationship between an angle and its opposite side. So if I see the angle A, there's a relationship to that and its opposite side. And we say the sine of that angle over the side. Opposite, which makes sense because sine deals with opposite. And if you look at B, angle B and its opposite side, there's a relationship there. And if you look at angle C and its opposite side, there's a relationship there. And by seeing this proportional relationship of an angle and its opposite side with sine, we can set up an equation to then solve for a missing side that we want to that is not a right triangle. Now, above this box, you see letters like AAS and ASA. Have you seen that before last year? To do with triangles? One way to identify a triangle is by identifying what you know about it in terms of angles and sides. So AAS means what you know about the triangle is angle, angle, side. And you go clockwise when you count around it, or counterclockwise, but you count around the triangle. You go, okay, angle, angle, side. Now, ASA would be, I know angle, side, angle, which means you know two angles on either side of the side. So you know an angle, side, and then the angle on the other side. And we'll look and describe what we're looking at here when we see the triangles. And then we have this one, SSA. So that one's the special one, and we're going to recognize that this is going to give you an ambiguous situation, which is an unknown situation, and we'll get there when we get there. But that's side-side angle. So I want you to look at number one, and if I was going to classify this triangle, I want you to start with an angle and then go around the triangle and recognize this is an angle, angle, side triangle. Can you see how you can classify it that way? Angle, angle, side. All right. Oh, there we go. That works. Okay. So, I want to find the length of this side x. It's not a right triangle, so I can't use SOHCAHTOA. We're not going to use those definitions. Instead, we're going to use this, what we see above, to set up an equation. In order to use the law of sines, you have to know an angle and its opposite side. Do you have that relationship in this triangle where you know it? You know the angle and you know its opposite side. So look at angle 47. Do you know its opposite side? So we're going to start there. We're going to write down sine of 47 over 15. Now, what am I looking for is x. Do I know the angle opposite of x? So the proportion on the other side is going to be sine 104 over x. So first, can you recognize the type of triangle it is? Can you see an angle and its opposite side and use sine? And then do it again for what's unknown. Next, basic algebra. Can you get x by itself? And then we're going to use our calculator. So to get x by itself, what would you do? You'd multiply. And what would you multiply both sides by? You'd multiply both sides by x. You know what else you'd multiply both sides by? 15, right? So if I multiply both sides by 15, then the 15's cross out and the x's cross out. So if I multiply both sides by the denominators, right, we end up with x sine 47 And on the other side, we have, and I put the number first. So 15 and then sine 104. What's the last step to get x by itself? So we're going to divide by sine 47. Now x is by itself. Now we use our calculator, and it's over. So you would type in exactly what you see. You would type in 15, then sine 104, close the parentheses, divided by sine 47, close it, and you're going to go diamond enter, and then what's the approximate length for x? And we're going to write it down. So it's about 19.9. And in this case, we have a unit of measurement. So what else needs to be included? Centimeters. So the first time you do something, you got to be a good listener with an open mind. And as you practice the skills, it's going to get easier. So let's go through the skills again. Number 2, I want to identify what type of triangle this is. So I'm going to start with an angle, and I'm going to go around the triangle and see what I have. I have an angle, then I have a side, and then I have an angle. One way to classify this triangle is calling it a angle, side, angle. Yeah, you can say it out. There you go. Triangle. Now, what my goal is to find the side length of x. So where I start is, I need to know an angle and its opposite side. So 42 obviously belongs to which side? X. What's the only other angle you know? 63. Do I know the side opposite of it, or is it empty? It's empty. So that relationship doesn't help me for an equation. So the only other thing I know is 28 feet. And you're right, Chris? What do I need to do? Can I easily find the missing angle here? Now, can I go 90 subtract to kind of take a shortcut here? It's not a right triangle, so I have to use what number and use my calculator. So 180 subtract 63 subtract 42. All right, put that in. Use your calculator. 180 subtract 63 subtract 42. Did you get the angle 75? Do we now know an angle and its partner, its opposite side? So we're going to write down what we know. We know sine 75 over 28. What am I looking for? Well, I'm looking for the side length for x. So what's its partner? So we're going to write down sine 42 over x. You could also set up this proportion where we could do the reciprocal and you'd get the same answer. So you could write 28 over sine 75. As long as you do the same on both sides, it will work. Now, the algebra here, we're going to do in one step because you can do it with me. You ready? If I want to get x by itself, can you go 28 times what number? 28 times... Do you know that you're going to go 28 times sine 42? Then, when I multiply the other direction, what will you divide by to get x by itself? So if we can practice that in one step to get x by itself, right? Multiply and divide. Now use your calculator. So type in 28 sine 42 divided by sine 75, diamond enter. And you get 19.397. Is there a unit of measurement here? Feet. Okay. I want you to try to set up number 3. Just to try to do it now. Can you identify the type of triangle it is? And can you set up a proportion? When you have one fraction equaling another fraction, we call that proportion, right? Or proportional equation. So, can you see what type of triangle we have? So, and it's okay if you started with, we usually do alphabetical, so the A's are first and then the S. But did you recognize it as an angle side? The angles are beside each other, and then the side beside the angles, right? The other one, the side was in between them, right? And the angles were on both sides? Okay. Next, I need you to try to set up the fraction. So I tried 2 questions with you. Can you try to set it up? Once you set it up, does your equation match my equation? Next, can you get x by itself? Can you do the algebra to get x by itself? And then use your calculator. So I'm going to go 11 times sine 65 divided by sine 92. Now use your calculator. So 11 times sine 65 divided by sine 92. All right, number 4. I want you to identify the type of triangle it is. Let me see your calculator.
How is it 9.976?
Did I round it wrongly? It should be 975, right? Let me do 5. Correct. I thought everything was wrong. Just the last rounding part. Got it. Number 4. Identify it. Can you set up the proportion using the law of sines? Can you get x by itself and then use your calculator to get the answer for the missing side? So when you're ready, did you identify it correctly? That's an angle, side, angle, triangle? So the only side length I know is 14. So what must I know to use the law of sines then? Is I need to know its opposite angle. Can you find that opposite angle, even though it's not given? And again, what would you do? 180 take away 32 take away 35. What answer do you get? 113. Next, set up the proportion now to solve for the missing length. And again, recognize these are not right triangles. They can be any type of triangle in terms of acute, obtuse, right, and so on. But it has to be angle, angle, side, or angle, side, angle to find the missing side length. So these are the two types of triangles they need to be to use the law of sines. So did you start with sine 113 over 14? Then sine 35 over x to get x by itself, and then use your calculator. So I'm going to go 14 times sine 35 divided by sine 113. And that missing side length is 8.724 in its yards. All right, read the story. So number 5, read the story. Notice there's a diagram that goes with the story too. So, in this situation, a pilot is avoiding a storm, but then returning to the original location. And what's the total distance of the flight? So, what we need to do is, we need to know all the sides of the triangle, and then add them all up to know the total distance. So, we got to start. So, we already know 80. So that's the only side that I know. What angle is opposite of 80 that I must know? And how do I find it? 180 subtract 108 subtract 15. That's where we have to start. 108 or 180 take away 108 take away 15. What is that missing angle? 57. So, That's where we're going to start. Sine 57 and over 80 miles equals. Now you have a choice to make. So I'm going to label one side x, and I'm going to label the other side y. And I know I need to find each one separately, and then add them all up at the end. So if I want to find x, what angle is its partner? So I'm going to go sine 15 over x. You're also going to have to set it up to solve for y. Then you're going to add all three sides. So to get x by itself, you're going to go 80 times sine 15 divided by sine 57. So x is approximately 24.689, and that's in miles. Next, I'm going to find side length y. We're going to start the same way. You start with what you know in the triangle. So we're going to start with sine 57 over 80. But this time, if I want to solve for y, what's its partner that's opposite of y? So I'm going to go sine 108 over y. I need you to get y by itself, and then we're going to add up all the sides at the very end. So to get y by itself, 80 times sine 108 divided by sine 57. So I get about 90.720 miles. And then to that, we're still going to add 80 that's in my triangle already. So when you add all three sides, what's the total length of the trip? So the total length of the trip was about 195.409 miles. All right, when you're ready, turn the page. The next skill we're going to work on is how to find a missing angle using the law of sines. Now, this is going to be more challenging, but I know you're up for the challenge. So we need to know some basic things about triangles first, and about trigonometry. We're going to learn more about these facts, about sine and its function, and what its range is, but I'm going to just tell you right now that the range for sine is between -1 and 1. Angles with a positive sine function, that's between 0 and 1, are in quadrant 1 or quadrant 2. So if you need a reminder of quadrant 1 and quadrant 2, in quadrant 1 and quadrant 2, it goes from 0 to 180. when using the law of sines to find a missing angle, it's possible to have one solution, it's possible to have two possible triangles, or it's possible that there is no possible triangle with the given information that you could make. That's why this is called ambiguous. Ambiguous means you don't know. So, we're going to work through this, but to find the other possible angle that it could be with it, you have to subtract from 180. The sum of the angle measures in a triangle, you know this, is always 180. And no triangle can have two obtuse angles, right? Once you have one obtuse angle, if you have a second one, it would be beyond 180. All right. Within this, it will make more sense as we practice. So let's practice. Triangle ABC is given below. And then you're given information, and you're asked to find whatever they're asking you to find. So in number 6, step number 1 is to draw a triangle ABC. And then you're going to label it A, B, C. What do we know about triangle ABC? So those are called the vertices, right, of the triangle? Angle A is how large? 60. If I go from A through B, A to B is 30 inches. B to C is 27 inches. And then what's my goal? To find angle C. Now, this triangle is called a side-side angle triangle. Notice the two sides are beside each other and then the angle, side-side angle. This is one situation where we don't go alphabetical. So we do S, S, then A. Then, if you look at the triangle, see what we know. Do you know an angle and its opposite side? We're going to start there. So it's sine of 60 degrees over 27. And if I want to find angle C, what side goes with it? In this case, we're going to do a capital C for the angle, and the side that goes with it is 30. I want to get C by itself. I need to do some algebra. So, I'm going to do what I did the last page. So what two are going to multiply? It's going to be 30 times sine 60. And then what am I going to divide by? So 30 times sine 60 divided by 27, like what we did on the last page. But because we're finding a missing angle, there's one extra step here. How do I get C by itself? And when I solve an equation, you always do the inverse to get it by itself. So to get C by itself, I have to do the inverse of sine. So for trigonometry, whenever you see that symbol, that means you're finding a missing angle. So because I'm finding a missing angle, I'm using inverse. So inverse of what? That whole fraction. So 30 sine 60 over 27. So that's what we're going to type in our calculator right now. So we start with inverse. Do you remember that? You have to press the green button first. So the green button first, and then Y. So you have inverse sine. And then we're going to type in 30 sine 60. Make sure the next sign is an inverse. Use the blue button for the next one. And then divide by 27, close it, diamond enter. What size of angle do you get? So we're going to write that down, 74.207. Now, here's the tough part. There could be two possibilities with the law of sines. Right now, because we could calculate the angle, we know there's at least one triangle. we're going to do a situation where you'll get an error message where you can't calculate it. Then there'd be no triangle possible. But right now, how many triangles are possible? One. To find the other angle, what I need to do is I need to go 180 subtract that number. The angle we just found is an acute angle. There could also be an obtuse angle that could also work. So right now in my calculator, I'm going to go 180 subtract 74.207. What's the obtuse angle that angle could be? 105.793. Now, I know the acute angle works. I know there's at least one triangle possible. But the second one, the obtuse angle, I have to test. And how I test it to see if it works or not is I have to add it to the angle that I already know in the triangle. When I add them up, it has to be less than 180. When I add up 105 and 60, do those two numbers add up less than 180? Because if they add up and they're more than 180, then that doesn't make a triangle. So can the obtuse angle work in this case? Do they add up and they're less than 180? So 105.793 plus 60 has to be less than what number? And if it is, which it is, both angles work. So in this case, how many angles are possible for C? And the answer is 2. It could be the acute angle 74 or the obtuse angle 106. This will be better as we practice. So let's try it again. Number 7. Can you draw it, label it, can you find it? And we're going to work together. Step number 1. Can you draw triangle ABC? And I'm going to tell you that it's okay that you just draw the same generic triangle every time. Even if you have like an obtuse angle and it doesn't look obtuse, it's okay. Just draw a generic triangle every time. And then label it A, B, C. In this situation, C is what angle? Is that really 89 at C? No, right? The way I drew it? 89 is almost a 90, right? But I'm not going to stress out about that. I'm just labeling it so I can structure the equation, okay? So I get it that angle C doesn't look like 89. And it's okay. I'm just labeling it so I can structure my equation. A to C is 34 meters. A to B is 26 meters. And what am I asked to find here? Angle B. So I've labeled this so that I can now start here. Start with what you know. The angle and its opposite side. So again, this is what's called a side-side angle situation. That's the type of triangle this is. So I know 89 degrees and its opposite side is 26. I'm looking for angle B. What side is opposite of angle B? So it's sine B, because I don't know the angle, over 34. What does sine B equal? Well, we're going to go 34 times sine 89 divided by 26. So again, you know, way back 100 years ago when someone said when you can cross multiply, right, to solve it, you can do that technique, right, to know what that means. And then how do I get B by itself? Inverse, right? So can you do the inverse of that? So let's type it in. Inverse. So diamond, sine, 34 sine 89 divided by 26. And then diamond enter. Uh-oh. Now, yeah. Now, guess what could happen in your thing? You could type it in wrong, right? And you forgot a parentheses or something. And it could give you a bad message too. So you have to know you typed it in correctly. And then it still said what? Undefined. With the information given, there is no triangle possible. So we did all the work correct, but when we try to calculate the angle, there is no answer, right? Possible? It was undefined. No triangle. Oh, there's still more work ahead. Number 8. All right, I want you to draw a generic triangle ABC. I want you to label it and you to start it before I do it for you. So draw a triangle ABC and label it based on the information given. This is a different part of your brain, right, than the algebra part from last semester. But I know you can do this. Good morning. Thank you. Got it. Dahlia, this is for you. I don't know what it's connected to. All right, I'll do the same. Now notice, angle C is what type of angle? You can go now. But I'm not worried about that. The reason I'm drawing a triangle and labeling it is just to structure the formula, right? So it's okay if it's not as accurate as you want. So ABC, angle C is 102, A to C is 21, A to B is 24, and I'm looking for angle B. So we can label it. What angle and opposite side do you know? So sine 102 over 24. That was quick. Then, okay. Then the other side is sine B over 21. Can you set this up to find angle B and use your calculator? So I'm going to go 21 times sine 102 divided by 24. And I know to get B by itself, I need to do the inverse sine, right, to find the angle. So type it in, set it up. So, are you typing it in correctly? Diamond enter. So, does this give you an error message or undefined? So, 58.857. Or. Now, how do I find the obtuse angle? Is I go 180 subtract what I just found. So, in your calculator, you need to go 180 subtract. And the other possibility is 121.143. Now, the acute angle is one possibility. I don't have to test out the acute one. But what do I have to do with the obtuse possibility? Is I have to add it to what's already in the triangle. And one thing we already mentioned is no triangle can have two obtuse angles. So when I add them up, what do you notice? Is it greater than 180? This angle we have to cross out. We test it. It didn't work. So when you go 121.143 plus 102, it was greater than what number? And because that answer is greater than 180, this has to be crossed out. How many triangles are possible? So in question number 6, how many triangles were possible? 2. In number 7, no triangle possible. And in number 8, 1 triangle. All right, try number 9. We get better and stronger by practicing. I need to know that you can draw a triangle ABC and label it. The more we do the law of sines, the easier it's going to be. So I'm going to start with sine 95 over 34. And I'm looking for A. So the side opposite of A is 21. To get A by itself, I know I need to do inverse sine. And then what goes inside the parentheses? 21 times sine 95 divided by 34. All right, use your calculator. And it's 37.974. Now, we're smart here, right? Do I even need to find the obtuse angle? If I needed to find it, we go 180 subtract, right? 95, is that an obtuse angle? Bigger than 90, correct? Can a triangle have 2 obtuse angles? So the only possibility is 37.974. I'm not even going to try the other one because I know it's wrong, right? I'm going to cross it out. On to number 10. So we're going to practice 2 more together, and then I'm going to give you time to do 3 things on your own or in your groups. 10. Draw a triangle ABC. Label it. So angle C is 30, A through C is 29, and A through B is 28. All right. Set up the proportion using the law of sines. So we start with what I know. So sine 30 over 28, and I'm looking for angle B, which is opposite of 29. Yes? To find B, whenever you find a missing angle with trigonometry, you're going to do the inverse. So inverse sine And we're going to go 29 times sine 30 divided by 28. All right, use your calculator. So 31.189. Or, in this situation, could you have an obtuse angle that could work, right? So how do I find that one? Is I go 180 subtract 31.189. And I get 148.811. This one is good. This one I have to test. And how I test it is, I add that angle to what I know in the triangle. Is those two together less than 180? It's super close, isn't it? Look how close it is when you add them together. Yes? But, is that less than 180? So that makes a triangle. If it actually equaled 180, no triangle. That's called a line. And if it was bigger than 180, no triangle. Got it? Any number less than 180. 179.99 makes a triangle. But not 180 and not bigger than that. Yay? All right. Number 11. Did you find the answer already? Nice. So, start with what you know. Sine 125 over 21. Now notice, what am I asked to find? But do you know anything opposite of angle C? So you can't go there first. Where do you have to go first? And if you do find A, you can then find C, right? By adding it all up to make sure it adds up to 180. So I can't go directly to C, so I have to use A, and opposite of A is 24. So, can you set this up to use your calculator? I want to find angle A. So, to find a missing angle, I use inverse sine, and it's going to be 24 times sine 125 divided by 21. So I get the angle 69.419. So I want you to notice your calculator did not give you an error message, did it? But, you ready? What happens when I try to find angle C? You would have to take the angle you know, which is 125 plus what? And then you would subtract 180, right, to see what's left. But there's a problem. And the problem is, when you just add those two up, it's already over what? No triangle possible. So even though it didn't give you an error message, when you have the angle you found added back, it still didn't work. Because even the two angles together was bigger than 180. So that there's no triangle possible you could make with that information. All right, there's your lesson on the law of sines. Mr. G Math over and